Okay, so let's talk. We've had a bunch of questions come in.
Yeah.
Let's just hash through it here while I warm up.
Sure, absolutely. We've definitely had a few on the YouTube. So
okay, what do we got?
Go through them.
I'll keep trying to hit this spinner.
For sure. So there's a few that I think are interesting here that we're going to kind of agree with, or that we're going to kind of talk about.
Okay.
And I think a lot of them are comments talking about Titleist's iron lineup as well, because obviously we just did a couple of videos on that.
Okay, so let's nail the Titleist stuff first, sure.
Yeah, so I mean, just one comment quickly from someone is the super game improvement irons are really starting to look good and blend well, which I could not agree with.
Yeah, they're shrinking them. They don't look as shovelish as they used to.
Exactly, and the turf interaction is better, because that's the biggest thing when you go into a huge iron like that, or a bigger game improvement iron, is you lose turf interaction, or the ability to make good turf interaction. So they've done a great job with that, and obviously people are noticing that as well. So it's a good one. I think one that's interesting here too, again, kind of about T350, the gentleman says, I'm still not excited yet, trying to understand. T350 equals higher ball flight, less spin, more forgiving, greater distance. So what is the advantage of T200 and T100? Comparatively lower ball flight and more spin and control at the expense of distance, which I would say yes. I mean, for a huge percentage of people, that is not something they need. For someone who already admittedly hits it far enough, which that number is different for everybody, I would rather have the ball flight be lower, have more spin, and have more control on where I'm trying to hit it. There's something that happens with game improvement irons when you're already a low spin player at high speeds, you get inconsistent results with.
Yeah, it's like every shot's a flyer.
Exactly, right? So like if I'm spinning a 7 iron that has already sub 30 degrees of loft, lower than 5,000, if I get into a lie outside that is not perfect and I'm in the rough, it's going to come out head high and it's going to go 250 yards, which is not something I can play with, right? I need the control. And I think there's a lot of other people out there that are like that as well, that grass is always greener. You hit it high, you want to be the guy that hits it low, right? I mean, so I think with irons, yes, you are giving up a little bit of distance and forgiveness, but some people hit smaller headed irons more consistently.
This guy,
exactly.
You give me a bunch of big headed clubs, which theoretically should be better for me, and I can't.
No, find the face. No. And your consistency comes from, like, yeah, you miss it a little bit on the toe or heat or whatever it might be, but you're not chunking your irons, right? I mean, with bigger irons, I've noticed you have the tendency to stick the club in the ground more often, right?
It's a shit show.
So that's the issue. So anyways, great question, and something that, yes, you will have to discuss with your fitter, and obviously, like, try and make sure that they actually are better for you, right? And don't just get T200s because someone tells you that. Try them and say, hey, why wouldn't I get T350? So
another reason why, though, you got to get fit, because this is the theory. Yeah. Everybody's going to be different. When you're hitting a club, you may perform better with something that would be a surprise. We see it all the time.
100%.
Everybody's different. So just because it says so on paper and what they're designed to do, they might not do that in your hands. Or maybe there's a different shaft. I mean, there's so many different things that can happen. But
for sure,
you got to get fit.
Absolutely. You got to try them, test them out. So
next question.
Quick question. This person says, will the lead tape mess up the tech on the T-Series clubs? Wondering because it was mentioned that higher launches were due to the lower CG. And
okay, I got this one. Hang on.
Perfect.
We did a video on lead tape.
We did.
We did this with the Strixon iron.
Yes.
And we did a blind test.
Yes.
So whether or not it's a forged blade or a cavity, weight is weight.
Yeah.
Adding lead tape will have minimal difference.
Minimal.
Because we did test, you remember, we did test how it affects aim bias or shape bias as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So you got to check out that video.
For sure, exactly. And I think just to quickly kind of answer that, the answer is yes, right? I mean, it does adjust. Anytime you put a shank in there, anytime you put...
I was trying to hit the spinner, I just hit a hosel rocket, check.
You put mass in a different place on a golf club, is it going to be enough to make a significant difference? Some people would argue yes, some people would argue no. So with a 270 gram club head, when you're adding 4 or 5 grams of tape onto a small place, does it change the center of gravity? A little tiny bit. So there's an interesting question here. I think it's very specific to this person, but they've asked it a couple times. Is there any chance you could do a video comparing the Callaway Rogue ST driver versus the current drivers on the market? Ping G430, Mizuno ST230, Titleist TSR2.
Okay, all right. We do old versus new comparisons. This is something so specific, which is telling me that whoever's asking the question, this is the driver you play?
Yes.
Come on.
You got to get fit, right?
You got to get fit.
Yeah.
if you want something specific to the driver you play, I understand. At the same time, this is a 3-year-old driver now?
Yeah, a couple of years old for sure.
So we may bring that out when we're doing an old versus new, but we're not doing something comparing it to everything else, trying to either showcase why you specifically do or do not need a new driver. You need to come and get fit because everybody is different. So
and to piggyback on that, and you're going to swing it differently, or I'm going to swing it differently, that driver than you are, and I'm going to use a different shaft that's going to kick differently, and the balance point's going to be different. So realistically, even if we did the test, it wouldn't give you any answers, right? It doesn't. It proves, oh, this head is kind of comparable for Matt than something else, but it's not really going to get you down to the bottom of it. And I think realistically, like Matt said, you got to get fit, right? You got to get fit. So. Anyway, so it's interesting. A couple people talking about T150s as well and what they are and kind of what they're fitting into in the grand scheme of Titleist's iron setup.
Like in the spectrum of what club you fit?
Are they T100Ss? No, they're not, right? I mean, T100S was a stronger lofted version of T100. So it instead of bending them strong, they molded them that way so that you would change the offset, or you could play with the offset as a fitter. So if I had somebody that needed lower loft, but I could take the T100S and I could add a little bit and remove some of that offset essentially. So T150, in my mind, I think the easiest way to describe it is like 718 AP2, right? It's an AP2. It has a little bit more forgiveness, a little bit more size than the T100, but it's a beautiful iron that a ton of people are going to fit into. I think
it's going to be the most popular.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too.
If you like the T100 because they're small and bladey, but you need a little bit more help, the 150 is going to be.
And for the guys that always wanted to play T100s, this is your answer, right? I mean, the guy that went and got fit and ended up in T2s, which are a great product, and I think you'd be happy with them. Obviously, the 100 is what everybody wants to play. This is a good happy medium there. So it's a great option as well. So, okay.
So we got for questions?
So looking at another one here.
Okay, one more. We'll do one more question here before I get tired from warming up.
Yes, exactly. Again, talking about T100 and T200, didn't the T100S split the gap between the T100 and T200 from 2021? And I think the answer to that is no, really, right? It doesn't really split the gap. I mean, if you were going to play a blended set, yeah, you probably would play T100S because the lofts match up a little better with T2, but realistically, it didn't split the gap other than with degrees of loft. And I mean, for us, I think splitting the gap means more of, hey, what's another iron I could play in my set that kind of splits things up here, rather than going from a bladed pitching wedge or 8 iron and 7 iron down to something like T200 in your 6. So for me, I think that the answer is T150 does a better job at doing that than the T100S ever did. T100S was a great idea for that better player, high speed, high spin guy that needs to bring that launch down a little bit, or that spin down a little bit. T150 is a different package sort of thing, so a little different. Okay. So there's one more question here too, and it's an exciting one because we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, but when will the giveaway be announced? And I'll let kind of Matt talk about that here.
We contact everybody privately to protect your privacy. If you haven't been contacted, I'm sorry, but that means you didn't win. Doesn't mean you can't win in the future.
For sure.
We have a random software that selects from our list of people, but we don't want to send that info out.
We encourage people to like, if you are the winner, you can post about it on your own.
Sure,
it's not something that we're going to kind of advertise. And I think, again, if you're the winner of our contest, then reach out to us, send us a picture, and we can kind of post that sort of thing too. So, I mean, again, like Matt said, doesn't mean you can't win in the future. There's tons of options. I love spending Matt's money, so we're going to keep doing that until he doesn't have any more. So
we're getting there.
We're working hard. So again, stay tuned for more of those. Please support the channel if you can too. We do appreciate that. We've noticed a big bump in the last month or so since things have kind of picked up again. So we appreciate it. So continue to support us, and there'll be more giveaways, and we'll give away more of Matt's stuff.
And feel free to donate money if you guys want to. Like, there's a thing. Like, can we have a GoFundMe?
We'll need that so Matt can put gas in his car.
I got smoked here. Going to be eating ramen for the rest of my life.
Just like the rest of us. So, anyways, but that's we appreciate the support, and look out for the next one.
Are there any more that are urgent for us to get to?
I think most of them are we can kind of go through that in the next couple weeks.
Talking about how cool or good looking I am?
Weird. That's like, that must be in a different folder because I don't see any of those.
All right. We'll have to look harder next time.